Chelsey C, and this season I will be doing a review for every episode for Preacher's Daughters, Season 3, Episode 1, Mission from God. I tweet every Friday night at 10 o'clock, so you can follow me on Twitter at IamChelsey_, and you can find me under the hashtag Preacher's Daughters. So I'm just going to do a recap on what happened on the first episode. And all the girls arrived to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico. And this year they decided to do a mission trip, and which I thought was really neat because the girls are actually together for once and not in their lives back at home. So some of the girls came to let loose, and some of them came to do mission work for the Lord. Sierra and her dad were the first ones to arrive in Cabo, and Sierra, she was one of the older girls, so I thought that she would be leading by example so that the younger ones could look up to her as a role model or like a big sister. So I was kind of surprised that Sierra said that while they were in Mexico, that a glass in your hand at all times. And I'm like, wow. Well, I wasn't surprised that it was coming from a PK, because PKs are known as the worst ones in the church. And sometimes they don't lead by example. And then also, Megan and her dad arrived, and Megan, this season, she's trying to make good decisions, compared from last season. She was in trouble for a lot of different things, and she seems like she's turned her life around in a positive way. And Pastor Tilo, he's one of the missionary pastors in Cabo. He's from the States, but he was in charge of the girls while they were in Cabo doing mission work. And Christiana, we met her, in the beginning of the show, and during her confessionals, I noticed that people were tweeting about her hair, so I looked at it and I was like, it's a weave, obviously, and it was kind of stiff at the top. Her natural hair was kind of stiff, so I was like, wow, Lifetime should have had hairstyles on deck to fix that. No shade, just being real. Next, we have Pastor Tilo. He wants the girls to treat the house with respect like they would back at home, because they know their parents do not allow them to demolish their houses, so they shouldn't demolish the big mansion that they had in Cabo. So Pastor Lewis, he's another pastor from the church, and he wants the girls to, make sure that they're actually here because they want to be here and they want to do work for the Lord. And he doesn't want them to, be out of control too much. He wants them to lead by example. And, he's just letting the other girls know that the one girl will be arriving late because she has, family illness back in her hometown. So then the girls get on the van and they say bye to their fathers. And Sierra begins talking about how the legal age in Mexico to drink is 18 years old. And in the States, it's 21. So the teenagers that are part of Preacher's Daughters, they're going to be, turned up while the parents are obviously not around. So Jade, she's 20, and, she's from Florida. She seems like she's a good PK. And, you can tell that she comes from a strict home because the way that, she acts and, from her body language and stuff. And, we've seen her dad, and, he seems like a nice pastor and everything. But I just think that he should give his child, some more freedom, when she goes out places. So then the girls, they went to Cabo Blue for drinks. So Kayla, she grew up as a missionary kid, drugs and alcohol. She was honest about her relationship with Christ. She's not really about the Lord like, other people are. So I'm glad that she was honest and not, fronting for the cameras or anything like that. Next, Christiana, they're drinking and stuff, and Christiana tries to get Megan to finish a drink that she had. And Megan didn't want that, to occur because, Megan's trying to stay on the right path. She doesn't want to, fall into temptation. And I understand where she's coming from, And then Tashay, I believe that's how you pronounce her name, the girl from New Orleans. She tells Megan, that we promise we're not going to tell your daddy. Like, he's not going to watch the show. Really, Tashay? Like, her dad's not going to watch the show when it airs and sees that his daughter's doing that. And I'm glad Megan didn't do that. Tashay, she's from New Orleans. She's a preacher's grandkid. She said that her mom had her when she was young, so her grandparents, raised her, raised in the church, you could tell. And yes, people that do not know you are watching you in the church, especially when you're a PK, and they will tell your parents or whoever everything that you are doing as an individual. And then later on in the show, you can see that Megan was trying to stay sober. You know, she didn't want to get trapped or anything. And, you know, Christians were held to a higher standard when it comes to certain things. And, they, you know, people expect us to be perfect and not judging and everything. But sometimes some Christians don't abide by that. And then next thing we see that Sierra was running her mouth about Christianity views when they're at the table at Cabo Blue. And, you know, she thinks that she's always right when she says everything, but it doesn't work like that, sweetheart. So try again. So the girls go back to the house, and they are beyond excited, you know, to see the house and see how big it is. You know, they had the pool and everything, and someone was nice enough to give them a mansion. I was like, wow, it's like Bad Girls Club house. You know, everything was in there, like a kitchen, dining room, the bedrooms, bathrooms, everything was just, you know, gorgeous, and they had a gorgeous view. And then, you know, they were running around like chickens when they saw the rooms and stuff, which was kind of funny. And the house is nice, you know, really nice. And then there's a big sign on the door next to the kitchen that says, in capital letters, "Do not open private storage." And what does Sierra and the other girls do? They break the door open. You see, it was tied up, and it had zip ties on it. You know, they opened it, obviously. Megan told them, you know, they shouldn't open it. They did anyway. They didn't care at all, obviously. They saw that it was alcohol in there. I was like, oh my God, they're going to be, like, wasted for days. You know. And I'm like, Lord have mercy, it's the owner's, you know, alcohol. If he finds out that his alcohol has been opened and used, he's probably going to kick them out and be like, bye, don't come back here no more because I'm not doing anything else for you guys. You know, I was like, fix it, Jesus. So Jade, you know, she's really conservative. You could tell when they were turning up, you know, with alcohol and stuff, you could tell that she wasn't about that life, you know. I don't blame her because I'm not about that life either, you know. And the dads, you know, came back to the house to see it and to see their girls again. And, you know, they were having discussion and stuff, and I was kind of glad that they were actually sitting down and behaving, because if their dad saw them drinking, you know, and turning up, their dads would probably be freaking out. So I was kind of proud, you know, of Megan. You know, she was talking to her dad and telling him how she felt like she was the odd person out. You know, Megan, don't feel like you're the odd person out, because you're really not. You know, Jesus was an odd person too. People started listening and believing him, so you're being a perfect example right now by, you know, not falling into the wrong path. You're staying on the right path, you know. And then Jeff, when they were outside with the girls, he was sharing about how he was running away from God when he was younger, with his problems and everything. So Christiana starts to be, she shares about how she was sexually abused as a child, and I was like, oh my God, she was sexually abused, and I felt so bad. You know, I wanted to jump through the TV and just hug her, because, you know, no one deserves to go through that at a young age, you know. And so the next thing that happened was, you know, she was crying, you know, the other girls started crying, showing their emotions and how they felt. And, you know, God allows you to go through certain things for a reason, you know. It's not always for, you know, the bad, you know, sometimes it can be for good. And she has a testimony that she can share one day. And especially after Preacher's Daughter, she can share it. And then Jeff, you know, he leads the group in prayer, which was very good, because they definitely needed it while they were away from home. And so next thing was the new girl was like on her way to the house. So Sierra, you know, she's running her mouth all again, you know, and so I'm sitting there like, wow, you know, you don't know who the new girl is, you don't know anything about her, don't say anything. And she's talking about pulling a prank, and I'm like, why would you pull a prank, you know, on the new person? And that's not how you want to welcome someone who's new coming into the house, especially if you're a PK, you know. Jesus wouldn't do that, so you shouldn't do it either. So the girls, they go to their orientation the next day at 4 p.m. And Sierra, you know, she thought that they were going to be like doing other stuff besides working outside. I mean, obviously, if you're in Mexico, you're going to be outside, you know, because the weather is, you know, warm. You know, it's different than being in the States where we have like ice cold weather and then super hot weather. So you're going to be outside, Sierra. You're going to get your hands dirty and everything. So get over it and get used to it, because you're a PK and that's what missionaries do. So, yeah. Stop complaining. You're working for the Lord. You know, you're helping others. You're blessing people. So stay that way. And Nikki, she's 19, she's from South Carolina. She shows up from Mexico with her mother, and she walks in the house, and there was, tape that Sierra put on the floor to lead the girl to her bed, and there was a couch. So after she puts her stuff down, her mom's like trying to figure out where she's going to put her clothes and stuff. She doesn't care. Obviously Nikki's ready to turn up, since she's legal age there. And first thing she does is look for alcohol, which was not surprising to me coming from a PK. The girls came back to the house, after their orientation and everything. And they met Nikki, and she played along with the prank. And I was like, wow, she just didn't care or had any feelings about it. And so they all went to Mango Deck, I believe it was called, to drink all again for like the third or fourth time in the show. So Christiana, it was kind of surprising for me to see her join the wet t-shirt contest, because I was like, wow, you're supposed to be setting an example, but clearly she didn't care. She wanted to have fun. So I was like, when I was watching this, I was just like, wow, I can't believe that she's like getting tatas and butts in her face right now. And the girl who was on top of her was just like humping the mess out of her. I was like, ugh. And I wouldn't want another female doing that stuff on me, with their tatas and their donkey booty. Go do that on a man, please. And after that, they went back home, got ready for their first mission job. And it was to build a house for a family of 4 the parents had recently got married. They had 2 kids. They were struggling financially and didn't have the help that they should have had. So the church stepped in and helped them, which I thought was a blessing for them. And Nikki volunteers to be team leader because everyone else was just sitting there like who's going to be team leader? So I'm glad Nikki stepped up to the plate to do that. And then they went out again to the giggling bar, I believe it was. And in the beginning they started dancing. So Jade said, she didn't really know how to dance, didn't have any rhythm. So I was kind of surprised to see some of the girls, shaking their butts the way they were, they were popping them really hard. And I'm like, wow, you're not in the twerk team, your PKs set an example. And then, Jade, she takes her first shot. I'm like, oh, okay, Jade's coming out there, I guess, or whatever. And Megan, she's fighting temptation again. She doesn't want to drink. I don't blame her. It's not worth it. So when they're in the club or whatever, they're, sitting down, drinking, eating. There's a couple in the front of the restaurant getting married. And so they were giving the drink to one another, whatever it was in the cup that they had. And so once again, Sierra starts being rude and judgmental and ignorant. I know that it's not right for a woman and woman to be together, but that's what they want to do. That's their decision. We can't judge them, As long as they're happy, it's fine. I know God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, but we can't change people. And they're in love, so let them be happy. And don't ruin the moment, Sierra. So Christiana, she doesn't have a problem with it, obviously. She thinks it's okay as a PK. And, they went back to the house. Christiana, you could tell that she was upset by the way that Sierra was, coming at her and judging at the end of the show. And so she calls her mother to talk to her about, everything that was occurring in Mexico with their mission work and their house and stuff. So, she was crying and she was really upset. I could tell she was upset at the stuff that Sierra said. So Jade, Megan, Nikki, and Kayla came downstairs. They comforted her and they were talking to her and stuff. So Christiana admitted that she struggles with sexuality, and depression, and she was hospitalized, I guess after the sexual abuse stuff happened when she was younger. So Sierra walks in. I'm like, here we go again. She has to walk in and ruin the moment. And she's being judgmental, saying, that she doesn't agree with certain things and, just being rude as always. And, Megan, she asks her if she's ever been with a woman, and Christiane has, kind of figured that was going to be her answer. And I'm glad that she was actually honest, about her answer. And Sierra, she's still judging Christiane. And Sierra, are you God? No, so stop acting like you're God, because you're not. You're a human, you're PK. You're supposed to be helping Christiane, not bringing her down. You should uplift her, you know what she's going through, and you should just want to be there for her and not hurt her or bring her down anymore, So stay tuned for season 3, episode 2. And I'll be doing another review for that. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at I am CHELSEY _, or you can look under the hashtag Preacher's Daughters on Twitter. Until next time, God bless. Bye.